The following podcast contains spoilers and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to Animated Anarchy, the show that takes a critical look at animated features of all kinds to determine the good from the bad. Hi, I'm Andrew Dickman.
And I'm Mike Ruocco.
And we're off to a great start. Hey, you know what? We could have watched Space Jam.
Oh, I would.
You know,
You know what? I would. You know what?
As much as I know you hate that, I know that you probably would have wanted to see
Space Jam
more.
is a much better movie than that. At least there's characters
20th anniversary, but
I'm good.
But
now.
Yeah, in case you haven't been following us on Twitter, we've been posting videos about what we've been watching for our Bluth-vember month. The Don Bluth the Don Bluth Spectacular month. Bluthsgiving, yeah.
It's giving me an aneurysm.
And so we watched The Pebble and the Penguin.
Yeah. So because the thing is, me and Andrew used a random name generator to put all the Don Bluth movies in, and we got like 3, and we got Nim first. We're like, okay, we got another one which we will do next week.
Nim's fine.
And we were like, that's cool.
This is gonna be fun.
And then we got Pebble, and I was just like, oh. And here's the thing, though. Like, I know there's some movies that, to me, rank lower.
Yeah.
On most people say Troll in Central Park or Thumbelina.
Oftentimes it's like I don't even think about this movie.
But at least Troll in Central Park is concise, and like even Thumbelina to some extent.
Don't give like positive. I like that you hated this movie so much that you would give credit to a much more
pandering,
much more despicable movie, I would honestly say, in my personal opinion. But yeah, Pebble and the Penguin.
For the weeks leading up to this stupid thing, I've been saying to Andrew just goodness glaciers. I'll actually say that. Which I
know you keep saying that, and every time I heard that in this movie, I had to bow my head and just put my palms in my face.
An almost impulse to just almost like a flinching punch.
I almost threw the remote at the screen. I almost broke my TV because of this movie.
As you can tell, we don't really like this movie
too much. We loved it. It was great. It was fantastic. So The Pebble and the Penguin on IMDb, let's just go down what it says. A lovable but introverted penguin named Hubie plans to present his betrothal Pebble to the bird of his dreams. And that's a pretty simple explanation of this. I mean, this is the most simple freaking movie that I honestly have seen in a long time.
Which should have been like a 7-minute cartoon. Ends up being a hour and 20-minute mess.
Yeah. I'm still broken about it.
Me too. I mean, because the thing is, there were so many things we saw that were like, what can we say?
Let's put this into perspective. Don Bluth was so upset about the end result of this movie. Not only was this pushed back a year, it was pushed back quite a few months to release because I guess they were worried about Lion King and stuff like that.
And also because they said errors too. But the thing is, there's so many.
I mean, they could have taken that time to fix the problems that they had with it. Yet Don Bluth himself, the director, and you won't know that because he decided to take his name off of the credits as director. So this movie has absolutely no director if you watch the credits.
There's no director credit.
There's no director credit.
It just is a Don Bluth
Even Gary
Ireland.
Goldman is uncredited on this. But yeah, they decided it's like, okay, I don't even want... But
has anyone ever asked Don Bluth, at a signing to draw Hubie? I mean, because everyone always asks for, Fievel or Mrs. Brisby.
But here's the thing about this movie. It is such a Don Bluth movie that even if you put your name off of it, you will know it's Don Bluth. There's no way that you will not be able to know that this is.
I haven't seen this movie in quite a few years.
Yeah, me too. I don't have it on DVD. I'm kind of glad I don't now.
Yeah, because watching this again, I forgot like how. Just, I mean, for me, I was looking at it from an animation standpoint and like a continuity standpoint.
Yeah,
there is a lot of. I've gone down and said this in the past. I've said that the Land Before Time dinosaurs to me are some of the ugliest character designs. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I mean,
well,
that Hubie.
Yeah, Hubie's okay.
And Ruocco and the villain.
Let's just start off with the concept that looking at Hubie and seeing his design just like makes me. There's something about it that is just so horrendous that I can't stand this as. First off, we're looking at this character and we're saying it's like, okay, this is our main character now. This is our protagonist. This is the character that we're going to be following for the rest of the movie. Make him freaking appealing. But no, I think like there's like some sort of there's this idea that we have to make this character look cute. We have to make him look like, I guess, relatable. I don't know.
Because I think because I liked Martin Short. He was the voice of Hubie.
Martin. No,
I liked him.
I like Martin Short in stuff that he's in. I know that a lot of people like will find him annoying in a lot of movies, especially like Treasure Planet and stuff like that.
I thought he was funny.
I thought he was great.
I mean, I like Martin Short,
and I like him as the seal in Madagascar 3.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. But here it's like. I don't know. I can't even blame Martin Short for the character.
I thought I think that the character would have been likable enough.
The delivery would have helped.
No, but the fact that the character looks the way he does.
The delivery helped, but the way he looks is like he's a potato sack. Like it's a pear shape, like a squash shaped head with a hat. With things that like earmuffs that look like red ears.
They're ear flaps.
Yes, they're ear flaps. But they're made to look like ears, and it's annoying to me. And the fact that the beak of the penguin looks like it's supposed to be the nose, and he has a clown nose. He has like a clown nose on his beak with an underbite almost, where it's like the beak, the underside, his chin beak overtakes the upper half of the beak at most points, and then you have like this red nose and the cheek. He has like these puffy Pinocchio cheeks,
but then he's also got these like the corners of his mouth, so the beak is like a square, cornered off on the corners of his mouth, and
he has
teeth and gums. I mean. Birds with teeth, like cartoon birds with teeth, don't bother me. It's cartoon birds with teeth and gums exposed. And it's so...
There's a lot of that.
Because the thing is, there's a point where a beak is no longer a beak. It's like a rubbery kind of mesh.
Mouth.
And between him... Because at first we're like, I like the design of Ruocco, the small Jim Belushi one. Yeah. Then we looked at him again. I saw like a nose. Like there's a human nose.
And when you pointed that out, every time he came up, I'm just like, oh my God, he looks like a goblin. he looks like
he looks more like a troll than the trolls in Trolls Central Park do. And so like, I mean, the combination of...
And that's what sucked, because it's like, what I remembered watching this movie years back, I would just remember like, Ruocco, who is the Jim Belushi penguin, he was probably the most appealing design of the entire cast. And then when you pointed out that nose, I'm just like, no, he's just like the rest. No. There was like one shining moment. Like there was one thing that I could say positive about this movie, and it went down the toilet.
And the thing is, like,
went down the sea line.
I don't try to make I think the one thing that hurt, I mean, there are obvious story issues, and we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
But what bothers me, like the fact that the designs take me out of the movie. Like I can't stand because they're over animated. Two,
yeah,
rotoscope,
that's just a Don Bluth
when they rotoscope, it's obvious.
Yeah.
The fact that they walk like penguins, but they have wings with hands at the ends.
It's like when they rotoscoped this, they had people wearing like potato sacks, and just had them pull their arms outwards like poles, and try to work with that. And it's like, I mean, like, I know how penguins walk, and they have like that weird, like, waddling with their wings outwards. But when you have like these penguins with, they were trying to do something clever, but it's like you have these hands on the ends of their flippers, and they're doing this. They just look like they're constantly like, "Yo, what's up? What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, hey," it's like, and they're just like jutting out their chest at everyone.
And
they don't do that all the time. I mean, it's like, it's not really consistent.
And then when they do it, it's very out of place because they're very anthropomorphic. Yeah. Like, they're very humanized. And then when they revert back to like penguin stance, it looks really weird.
And there are penguins that do look like penguins in this.
With beaks that work and not clown nose, rubbery teeth filled. And then not only that, but like the teeth inside the penguins, they're not like just cute cartoon teeth.
They're sharp.
They're like, you remember that scene in The Grinch where he's moving his mouth and the teeth are just a still image?
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was like a pencil test that they showed off, and they kept like the teeth consistent while the mouth was moving,
almost working around the teeth.
Yeah, so
and that's what the teeth in this, and then, the designs are, to me, are such a detriment that it makes it hard to watch without wincing, because it's the combination of the designs of the characters being, especially because, and this is the thing that bugged me, it feels like every other shot is like either a slow truck in or a close up of Hubie's face or Ruocco's face or the Drake's face or the girl penguin's face with the shines in the eyes and the obvious eyelashes and the weird puckered lips and the over. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but there's a rule to lip sync. Like in Richard, this is like the Richard Williams school of like,
I thought the file was broken. Like when we first started this, I was like, is this out of sync?
No, it's just the lip sync was just over animated.
Yeah.
To the point where if a character's just saying a simple the mouth is open like you want to shove a whole goddamn apple in his mouth like a suckling pig. I don't mean to be so negative, but
out of the gate, we're not even 13 minutes into this, and it's just like, wow.
Do we have to go into the story? Like,
yeah, we kind of do.
All right, begin it. Let's just go. The sooner we do it.
All right, we start off with a narrator. Or wait, do we start with the narrator?
Do we start with the notes or the book and then the notes?
No, yeah, well, it's like. All right, hang on. Let me look to my graph here. No, we start off with the narrator talking about there is a tradition in the Antarctic where the penguins have to find a pebble to
give to their mate.
And is that a real thing? It's like
I think it is.
It might be. I mean, like, it probably is super exaggerated in this movie, but it's like, I think there's probably something where penguins, like, they offer something like a rock or a pebble to whoever they want to mate with, and then they basically become,
I'm judging you based on a rock.
Yes.
Because what else will penguins do?
And then they become a couple. They procreate, and then they have more of penguins that do the same thing year after year. So yes, but there's this lady that's talking about this. And then it goes into the beginning credits, which is like on a note, like it's
a score sheet.
It's a score sheet, but it looks like a book. Like, we're gonna look at a storybook. It's like the Pebble and the Penguin. Then it opens up, and it's a score sheet with the musical notes, and it starts off with this music like, one stone forever, one stone alone. It's like there's like a woman singing, and then the guy just sounds like, I don't want to.
It's like the Barry Manilow equivalent of the opening of the All in the Family theme. Wide away, Glenn Miller played.
Well, we should
songs that made the hit parade. It begins with this kind of weird, and we find out.
We should talk about the music here, because honestly, given this movie's reputation for Barry Manilow's score of this entire thing is honestly atrocious, but it's made to be like a Broadway musical. And it certainly sounds like one.
And
I
the
mean,
s- and
not
the-
a good one, but it sounds like one. I mean, if I was listening to this in like a Broadway musical theater, it probably would have been okay, like, like a school play or something like that.
The
But
songs aren't that. I mean,
no, I can't really say the music is that bad. I honestly, like,
the visuals are a detriment.
the
to
visual, like, the whole story and everything and the music doesn't stop, I should also say. It's like, even when there's not, like, musical parts to it, the music does not stop. There's, like, constant, like, orchestra happening.
I don't think this. I mean, like, because we talked about Nim last week, and there were moments of silence in the movie.
Yeah, certainly.
This movie is. They don't.
But with that, I mean, like, I should be fair. With Secret of Nim, it's like there are moments where there is calm and there has to be silence, and that helps with the all-out mood and environment of the entire thing. And with this, it's like everything is constantly moving. So it's like we have to like keep moving on. But even like moments where it's like it's a little bit more quiet, there's still music going. You still hear it's like, okay, we're in the ship. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we're on like an island.
That Mickey Mousey music.
Yeah.
And the songs
It's
themselves.
like the orchestra was almost, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's almost like the orchestra saw like characters moving, but there's nothing on the screen like happening, So
But like, I think the songs themselves are okay. Like
Yeah.
the songs aren't bad.
the songs by themselves are okay, and it's not bad, but in addition to the visuals, it just kind
Especially
of
because they're over animated and the characters go into these ugly spasms sometimes, and it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But
And-
but the movie opens with this sort of, and there's all these choreographed. It feels like the opening Broadway show number. And the thing is, we were talking about
like
it.
West Side Story,
Yeah,
where it's like they're all singing, and then there's moments where it's like it stops, and you
You
still
just hear the
hear-
music going dun dun dun
Dun,
dun
dun,
dun 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 dun. Well, what are you doing today? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll find the guy of my dreams. Well, maybe we will. Hooray!
And
One
then-
pearl. Whatever.
Yeah.
And it seems like like something out of Grease or West Side Story.
So I will give it credit where credit's due. It sounds like a Broadway musical. I was questioning this the entire time. It's like, when did this movie come out? It came out after Beauty and the Beast, and that came out in like what,
91, and then the
91?
Broadway show was
And-
only 2 or 3 years after.
Yeah, and I have a feeling like maybe Barry Manilow looked at that and says like, that's what I want. I want that.
Well, maybe not.
I want
maybe
that.
they hired Barry Manilow to do a score like that,
Maybe.
based on the success of movies like Beauty and the Beast, and then
Right.
the Broadway show.
So it makes me feel, because the Beauty and the Beast thing was such like a success.
And also, Beauty and the Beast was structured. The movie itself was structured like a Broadway show, like Phantom of the Opera or something like
And
that.
so many movies afterwards were trying to emulate that. Like we were talking about that with Swan and the Princess,
Swan and the Princess,
Swan and
the Pebble and
Swan-
the Penguin, the Swan and the Princess, the Nim of
Jesus.
the Secrets,
the,
like, what is-
the Nim of the Secrets.
the back of the weir of the dinosaurs of the story. This movie, I think, broke us.
Back in the okay, I can't even go back to that.
Let's just move on, please.
But the Swan Princess, that's what I was talking about. But I mean, all these movies after Beauty and the Beast, they were trying to emulate that sort of Broadway musical feeling to it. And this one is more, I would say that this one's a more obvious than Swan Princess, because it's trying so hard.
There's even moments that sound like Aladdin songs, like when he starts singing the song that he sings to
Yeah.
the girl penguin.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
sounds like he's about to go riff raff, street rat. It's like the same musical sting,
Yeah.
too.
So, but the entire beginning credits is just like this 5-minute score of these penguins singing about the stone, and then we're introduced to Hubie and
He's the most romantic of all the penguins.
oh yeah, the most romantic. They should have said hopeless romantic, because
He's not really romantic. He has love in his heart, but he's not romantic.
No, he's kind of. When you first look at him, it's like you kind of, I don't know. I wanted to pants this guy. I wanted to like just like give him like a wedgie and like he.
The most romantic of all the penguins.
So-
The girls. And it's even when they're
he's a nerd. I mean, like, to me, who is a nerd, he is the nerdiest of nerds.
Yeah. And there's even other penguins where you see them like marching towards camera and they have like dumb, like buck goofy teeth and tongue sticking out.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're like, dum, dum, da, dum. But Hubie is sort of this hapless hero underdog.
And he has he stutters.
He has a stutter.
That's not even consistent. He stutters sometimes. It's like he stutters when he's like nervous about something.
Yeah, like I don't think it's a bad trait to have him stutter and be nervous.
I mean that's fine.
But when he looks the way he does.
Yeah, it all comes down to what he looks like.
Franken penguin.
I'm looking at a picture right now of him and I can't really pinpoint why.
I'm so glad that I'm on the other side of the room and I can't see your screen.
I'm like trying to pinpoint. It's like what could I do to this character to make him actually look appealing?
I think what you should do is
I don't know if it's because of the entire cast, like the entire look of the penguins, because there are penguins that look like penguins, and then there's penguins that look like humans in sacks of potatoes. You know, it's just.
Yeah,
it's mind bending.
I love
consistency.
How, as much as we try to go through the story, we have to stop and talk about how bad the designs are for the upteenth fucking time.
Well, moving on.
Anyway, Hubie is talking to these three child birds
that are just there.
They look like they were rejects.
Give us the stories.
Rejects from Thumbelina.
Yeah,
and they put him in, and he wants to.
Those same birds are in Thumbelina. I would think.
Well, they have the same kind of legs and feet and overall design.
They all have shoes instead of like. Yeah.
And then, so Hubie wants. It's what was the name of the girl penguin? Marina. And he wants to fall. He wants to, Marina's his girl. And
he wants her.
But then
he wants her so bad.
But then we introduced to Drake.
Yes.
And every time I think of Drake, I think of Drake's cakes.
Marina comes up and starts talking to them, and then they have like a little musical moment, and then we pan up on the mountain
to this evil mountain.
And this is Tim Curry. I mean, listen, I love Tim Curry. Every role that he's in, he just makes it his own.
He eats the scenery
so
beautifully.
He eats the scenery so well. I have there are moments where he's like funny.
When he eats the scenery, he does it with class. He even dabs his lips with a napkin. Somehow he eats the scenery, but in the most like beautiful way.
Yeah, but there are moments in this where it's just like it could have been it pushed a little bit more, and it's like it didn't happen, and it's like not every scene that he's in is gold. But there are moments where it's like we say it to each other once in a while. It's like sometimes when we see each other, he's like, "Hey, nerd."
The only thing about this role that I don't like is there's never a moment where
slap my knee.
The only thing I don't like about his delivery here is that he never goes no. There's never a moment where he has like that no, like he does in every other movie.
That's your problem with this?
Yes.
The no.
Well, the fact that he somehow how a penguin's beak can snarl in one part.
He looks like a horse
from the front.
Of the time.
When you look at him from the front, he looks like a horse.
Yeah, he's the most unpenguin penguin.
Like Mr. Ed when he talks.
Say what you want about Hubie and everything. He looks like a horse on top of a balloon that tapers down into like tiny little fish legs.
And he's got a cape.
Yeah. And he has a cape.
He's Jenner as a penguin.
And he also
from Nim. And
he has like his neck. His neck looks like it's a bloated, like it's like gonna pop at any moment. It's like a horse head on top of like a balloon on top of a bigger balloon.
Two balloons side by side, and then
squeezed together to look like breasts.
And a cape.
And giant gorilla arms.
There's times where
there's times where he moves around and he even does like the whole gorilla like stance.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's almost like a silverback gorilla looking down on.
Oh, and even speaking of looking down, when you have the Marina and Hubie song, and then there's a point where the camera turns and is panning, and then you hear the narrator go like, meanwhile, but there are other penguins like, and like there's one penguin who didn't like, and I'm like, we were just in our heads going, every who down in Whoville, and you pan up this thing and you see this Grinch like creature with these 3 idiot
but
henchmen.
There was one penguin who didn't like Christmas.
The Pebble. I'm always borderline Mr. Dink from Doug.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always like, very expensive. I'm so sorry.
Oh, man.
So either way, so then the day comes where they have to, all the penguins look for pebbles, and Hubie is scattering around getting penguins,
like a dumpy idiot,
trying to get pebbles and having them getting taken away.
It's basically to see, it's like, oh, he fumbling around, he can't find a pebble. Oh, now he's sad, and then he has his moment where he's like, I look at the sky, and then
he wishes on a star.
Oh yes, he wishes on a star.
Starlight,
star bright.
I wish Pinocchio would be a real boy.
Yeah, Figaro comes up. It's like, you know what I wish for, Figaro?
I wish for a pebble.
I wish for a pebble. Why did I suddenly be Geppetto? Yeah,
I think this movie has broken.
I turned Geppetto into Peter Lorre. That's great. I didn't know Pinocchio could dance.
So out of the sky, a comet lands near Hubie,
and he becomes Meteor Man.
And it drops a green squarish rock.
Yeah, it looks like a Jello shot. It's like
it looks like a Jello shot with the corners cut off.
Yeah, and yeah. So he looks at this. It's like, this is the perfect pebble. And then he's looking for Marina. And then in comes Tim Curry.
Hi, nerd.
Say, nerd. What you got there? Yeah, stuttering. Yeah, whenever he mentions Hubie, he
wake up
stutters.
And smell the seaweed, nerd. And you're like, oh, for God's sake, he is a bully.
Yeah, and he just, okay, well, in that moment, there's a bunch of penguins who say, oh, we can't eat now because there's a leopard seal out. And, the penguins are scared to fish because they don't want to get eaten by a leopard. But then, what's his name, Jenner?
From Nim?
No, it's not Jenner. Oh, my God, I'm going back to Nim.
He kind of looks...
Drake.
Drake looks like Jenner.
Drake
as a penguin.
We were just talking about you.
Actually,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, Drake. I keep wanting to say Jenner. Drake pushes Hubie off of the edge, and then he's in the water, and he gets chased by a leopard seal. And meanwhile, Marina's like, Hubie, being pulled back by Drake as he's being chased by the seal. And then there's that whole moment, and he basically drifts off on a iceberg.
Yeah, and it's an iceberg kind of shaped like a couch, like a love seat, and he's alone.
Yeah,
and then you wipe to a boat, and he was captured in a box. He's in a crate, and the other penguins say, "You've been in there. You've been sleeping for 3 days. Well, what happened?"
Yeah, 3 days.
3 days. He was asleep for 3 days.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing about this. Now they're on a boat, and it's called Misery.
Who names a boat?
It's the SS. Well, like I was saying, it's like if you've been fishing for snow crabs, it's pretty miserable.
Like Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, the Deadliest Catch. It's miserable.
But you don't name a boat Misery.
I don't know. Maybe it's it's such a bad omen that it's almost reverses itself.
It's like naming a boat like the SS sinks a lot. It's just not a good sign. Yeah. You don't have faith in your ship. Yeah. So he's on this boat.
But I guess they capture penguins while it's out in sea and teetering on the edge of these storms, and they somehow find penguins and they bring them in and throw them in cages.
And they're not even only Ruocco's in a cage and Hubie's in a crate. All the other ones are strapped into a life vest.
One's
or a life preserver with
one's
a
in a picture frame.
Yeah, with bars on it.
Yeah.
What?
This is the most weird.
And you could tell that was it looks like a stage prop on a Broadway stage.
Yeah. Like going back to the whole Broadway musical thing, it's like they were trying so hard for that.
And they sing that song about the SS Misery, the good shit misery, and you're like,
oh god,
and
this song is like, eh.
There's moments where
the only moments that I was paying attention is the moments where there was some animation happening, and then some animation was just like, stop.
It was a still frame. Like, Hubie would literally just be a still cell just sliding across the floor.
Yeah, and I almost feel like they made the mistake of animating one side of it, and they forgot to... It's like 2 cells with 2 animations on it. It's like they only animated one cell and not the one underneath it. So it's like it was just stuck there.
There was a lot of that in this movie. A lot of, like, things not moving while other stuff was... Because usually Don Bluth is notorious or... infamous or famous for having, like I said before, like I said on the last show, how if a character's not moving, some poor in-betweener or assistant has to animate the character so that they're still, but they're not a still drawing, like it's, that they're standing in one place.
Yeah.
This movie, there isn't. Like, these characters literally held cells, and they're held for like 5 or 6 or 7 seconds at a time.
And considering that Don Bluth...
And when everything else is moving in the shot and there's one character that's not moving, your eye goes to the thing that's not
exactly.
moving.
And considering that Bluth took his name off as director, I'm pretty sure like halfway through he was just like, you know what, I don't care. It's just I know that they're not moving, but fuck it. Just move on.
We got a deadline.
Yeah, we and like the animator's just like, but I animated this scene. No, let's just move. We'll move on.
And yeah, so they sing this really kind of awful seasick song.
Yeah.
And
then enters, after that song is over, I don't even want to talk about the song. Let's just move on. Ruocco, who is voiced by
Jim Belushi.
And he apparently he's like, oh, he's a mite feisty one. Or what did he have, a Scottish accent or something?
Well, no, there's like, there were the fishermen who are on who run this ship are like, they sound like they has like a very heavy brogue, like accent, and they throw Ruocco into the only steel cage they have, and it's a giant cage. It's pretty big, And Ruocco's thrown in the cage, and he's this little spunky, angry little shit, with Jim Belushi's voice screaming out of it.
Yeah,
and I like Jim Belushi.
Yeah,
at least in this role, I liked him.
I liked him when he kept on telling Hubie to shut up.
You're so annoying. Like, just, yeah.
Yeah. So, they devise a plan to escape. And
but Hubie looks into his stone and sees...
Oh, God, that scene. It's like all of a sudden the stone is like this magical window to wherever it's supposed to be.
It's literally like the mirror in Beauty and the Beast. He looks into it and he could see what the other characters are doing far away.
And he finds out that Marina actually likes him. And
then he has to go back. I gotta go back before the full moon, or... you're banished, or
there's like there was a moment where it's like Drake was talking to Marina. I was like, you have to get married before the full moon, or else you'll be banished.
He just chokes up a whole trout.
And that was like the stupidest steak I have ever heard. Honestly, it's just like
you're giving us a reason to be like, we got to get back and give us like that race against time element, but it's
you
so
have
forced.
To get married or you're banished. What? That's so stupid.
There are no bachelors here on this vessel, on this iceberg.
Yeah, where are the actual married penguins then? Like
I've seen a lot of single penguins. That I didn't see. I saw couples.
Well, honestly, it's like every penguin on this island has been looking for a pebble, and it's like and there's no actual couple penguins. There's no like, you would think like there'd be like a couple penguins on the side that would say it's like, oh yeah, being married's awesome. And I met my guy years ago, and we've been together since.
Because he gave me a pebble, and I just married him. Yeah. And I don't mean to detract, because now we're talking about the logistics of this movie. Like, where are the married penguins? Where did Marina get that rose that's on her head
in
the ice?
Popped out.
Why couldn't they just make an ice thing?
Yeah, it could have been it's pink. It's like it doesn't look like it belongs where they are. It should be like a frost like flower or something, you know? It's like
and also when the fishermen catch the
they
penguins,
have clothing too.
do they notice that they're wearing scarves and bandanas and hats and clothes? Like,
oh, this is a rare one. He has a scarf.
Oh, look at him. He's got Varigamos.
This is my favorite Pokemon.
Why'd you drag Pokemon into this?
Well, you know how some Pokemon
why does this Pokemon have skin pants?
yeah. He's wearing a belt. Do they all wear belts? Is that just like part of their body?
Are you born with?
Anyway, going back to this goddamn thing. Where
Ruocco helps Hubie
escape, and they're like, no, stop following me, rah! And then we find out that they're on a beach.
And you were talking about this where, like, you know how Nim, like, the color is really subdued and really, or sometimes really strong, but it aided it and it didn't seem distracting?
Yeah.
Primary colors right out of the Crayola box.
Yeah. Yeah, that was...
And they're fighting with vines. Oh, you love those vines.
Okay, this entire scene where they're talking and they're just struggling with these fucking vines. It's like, I already saw in Secret of Nim where the crow Jeremy is like stuck in the string, and while he's talking to
Mrs. Brisby.
Miss Brisby, he's like constantly moving in and out of the string. He's like hanging from it. He's choking on it. And here it's like they're on like vines and kelp, and they're constantly doing it, and I'm just like, get out of these fucking vines, for God's sake, stop! It's like they're not... I don't know... Maybe it's because of the way the characters look or what they're talking about, but it goes on forever. It feels like, please, just stop, for God's sake.
And the thing is, like, unlike the Nim scene, where the dialogue doesn't feel like I'm sitting through really boring, explore like...
I'm actually paying attention to what they're saying.
Expositional dialogue.
Well, with this,
here, it's just like you keep saying, like, you and your blasted Pebble. And, like, it's the same. They literally have the same conversation about 4 times in the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you nearly got me killed because of your stupid Pebble. But there's this girl out there that
that Pebble. Blah, 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 blah. And but my girl is going over in my house, and I have to go find her. And blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, there's like a bug, like in a Hawaiian shirt, and
that wants to take the Pebble. And that's the thing in Don Bluth movies, especially like after, definitely starting with like American Tail and Land Before Time, is where you have these kind of weird, just for this one sequence, one like background incidental creature that's just always in the shot.
Yeah.
Whether it be a bug or a bird or a baby pterodactyl.
While there is tons of movement happening as well.
And the thing is, since the characters are constantly moving, and there's a lot of secondary animation where, like, while they're turning their head and shaking their head, their hat's bobbing up and down. And another thing, too, this is speaking of the hat bobbing up and down, Hubie stows his Pebble. Like, there's no continuity whether he's holding the Pebble or he puts it in his hat or if he puts the Pebble down. And then there are moments where he's moving his head up and down and his hat keeps bouncing off his head, and you just see the Pebble loosely bouncing around under his hat, and it made me so stressed out because I'm like, that Pebble's gonna fall out. And there's so many moments in this movie
where it happens,
where the Pebble falls out and falls down or rolls down a thing, and Hubie's got to get the Pebble, and Rocco's like, leave the Pebble, and
leave that blasted Pebble.
Bonnie, my Pebble. But it's so aggravating to see Hubie constantly fiddling and losing the Pebble, and the Pebble bouncing around. He's juggling and tossing the Pebble. I know you got to give some business for the characters to do while they're talking, so they're not just standing there.
Yeah.
But they're constantly moving, and they're so distracting, and your eye can only focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And they're flailing around. And can we say something positive?
Yeah.
We've been just shitting on this movie.
What happens afterwards? I forget, because it's like...
Oh,
then
Hubie lies to Ruocco, saying that he knows a penguin named Waldo.
They move from vines to this bobbing, like, life preserver that is constantly moving, and it was just like, oh my God, it's the vines again!
And then also the palm tree that's just like 15 meters long. Like, It's this longest sloping,
Yeah,
crazy.
The palm tree almost felt like it had two tops. It's like they went from one side that was like the top of the palm tree, and then they slide down it, and then there's the other end, which is the top of the palm tree.
It's like there's one Tex Avery cartoon where a character's being chased in a jungle, and they climb up the back end of a giraffe, and then they slide down the giraffe's neck, and you think it's a head, but it's just the body, and then you pan out, and you see that it's just a giraffe. Two giraffe bodies connected by one neck.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what that tree felt like.
Yeah.
Oh, so then,
but yeah, he tricks Ruocco into thinking it's like, oh, I know a guy
Ruocco
named
wants
Waldo.
Ruocco wants to fly. That's his dream, is that he wants to learn to fly.
Yeah, I know a guy named Waldo. And first off, it's like Hubie basically wants. There really isn't a reason that Ruocco should be with him. Hubie just wants him to be with him, and he's constantly pawing at him and like touching him, and it's like, if I was around someone like Hubie, I would be constantly hitting him away. Like, get the fuck away from me! Stop!
He keeps grabbing and pulling.
You're too close, for God's sake! I understand Ruocco's like hatred of this thing.
And the thing is, though, like, too, going back to the whole like Waldo and teaching you to fly and wing speed or whatever it is,
wind speed,
and like it was the most like we need a reason for Ruocco to go with Hubie back to Antarctica, and they could have come up with any sort of excuse, but for some reason. Hubie has to make up a lie about a bird named Waldo who will teach him how to fly if they go down there.
Yeah.
Which I think they probably could have come up with a simple like, oh, I know some penguins who fly. I could show you them, but you have to get me down there.
Hold on.
Like, why do you need to make up this story about this one
Uncle
penguin?
Waldo.
Drunken. But like,
you have to find him. He keeps getting missing all the in the crowd.
And another thing too that really bothers me, and this is something that bothers me.
So many things that bother us.
But this is from me coming from storyboarding and knowing about like composition and screen direction and shit like that. First of all, there's no rhyme or reason in terms of like where the characters are at a given point. Yeah. So like, for example, you assume that, if it's just say if you're going to structure a cartoon or a movie, we always start with like you have one spot and then you either progress to the right or to the left. And if just say, for example, in the case of Pebble and the Penguin, on the left-hand side of the screen or left, you have the where Antarctica is. Mm-hmm. And Hubie gets thrown to the right, far away to the right. Even the ship is moving towards right, away from screen left. Yeah. And then when Ruocco and Hubie are trying to get back to Antarctica, they're going right. Then in the next shot, they're going left, and there's no rhyme or reason as to where they're going.
Yeah,
and then
screen direction is really out.
Yeah, it's out. And then
out the window.
Another thing too is that whenever you cut back to Antarctica, you're like, the character's now on a random iceberg. This character's now on a random rock. And then Hubie and Ruocco are on a boat. And then
it took us a while to figure out where the hell this Skull Rock Mountain was.
Where Drake
is.
Lovely. I love how it's a natural rock. There's a lot of natural ice and rock formation.
It looks like Skullmaster's Mountain from Mighty Max. It's just
with a hand in front of the mouth as if it's like going to spit out something in its hand.
Oh, that was another thing that really like I mean, you don't really think about it, but now that we're on that,
let's open up another page of what's wrong with this movie.
Drake is talking to like two seagulls? Are they seagulls or birds or something?
And then they fly away and you think that they're going to do something and they don't do anything.
It's like, he even acts like, I want you to get that bird.
Keep an eye on Hubie and make sure he doesn't come back. You're going to vomit.
But they laugh and then he says like, silence, and then shoos them away. They fly off and you think something's going to happen with them, but no. Nothing's happening.
He's just talking to two random
He's just talking
birds.
to two assholes.
But he's already got 3 henchmen.
And not only that, they're in like a cave that's filled with like bones. Like he's chewing on a fucking bone. Like a human.
And there's a lot of bones. Like literally bone.
They're human bones.
We thought they were twigs.
Yeah.
Like the wind's blowing. Like, where are these twigs coming from? They're in Antarctica. And then you realize that they're bones.
And these
there's
birds
piles
are
of
chewing
bones.
on it, and he's chewing on a bone, and he's talking to the birds like.
Are penguins carnivores?
But no, after that
I
scene,
mean, they eat fish.
that scene might as well have not been in there altogether because there is nothing that really comes of it.
No.
It's just like, here's Drake again. Oh, and now we're going back to Hubie and Ruocco.
Oh, here's Marina sad, cutting back to Hubie and Ruocco. Oh, here's Drake trying to mac on Marina and sing a stupid song.
Yeah.
Oh, so it keeps, I guess because the thing is you want to give enough time to know while Hubie and Ruocco are over here, meanwhile, back home, Drake is still an asshole and Marina still misses Hubie. Mm-hmm. And it feels like it doesn't really go anywhere when they cut back to Antarctica.
Yeah.
And also, I forget what happens after. So Ruocco...
After what happens, then like they're on like another rock and they're saying it's like they need to rest or something. And then Ruocco sees like a slope where he's like, oh, I can use that to try to fly. And then he tries to go down the ramp, wind speed, and then he flies off, and then Hubie's after him, and then he falls, hurts himself, and then they get angry at each other, and because they're on another island, and they try to just like they're angry at each other, and it's the next morning, and they're. It's like...
Dude, that's the thing, though. Between the rocks, cutting to different rocks and then being in different places, there's a point in the movie where I forget what happens first.
Uh-huh.
There's no, like... I feel like I'm losing track of
You might as well know that, okay, they cut to this moment with Hubie and Ruocco, they have an argument, and then we go back to Antarctica on that rock, where... Marina and Drake are having a song where he's like going like, don't make me laugh.
And then he's like,
That's
there's
the
moments that are
Don't make
obviously
him laugh.
rotoscoped.
Yeah.
And it stands out like a sore thumb.
It does. And these balloon creatures are just like moving. It's like if you saw motion capture CG animation and it's just like they're moving and their heads don't really fit to their body movements, and this horse-headed thing just is like tossing around a smaller girl-like thing, and
she's very indifferent about it. She's not like, oh no.
Yeah, she's just taking it.
Neutral expression.
Yeah, she's obviously just taking it the entire time, where it's just like, dance with me. This song's about making me laugh. And tosses her, and then like,
and then even at the end, she's just like, humph.
Yeah, it's just, and that's it. That's it. She's just like, humph. That was a strange. How do you do? And then we
imagine the moment right after that. It's like, so, do you still want to marry me?
Yeah,
you asshole.
Like, no. What if we try it again?
I'll sing a better song tomorrow.
So we're back on Other Rock, and then it's Ruocco and Hubie, and now it's like Hubie confesses that he made up the whole thing about Waldo, and
I don't understand what happens after this.
In a bit of a twist, he's just like, Rocco's just like, you idiot, you made me laugh, and slapped my knee. No, there's a moment where it's like Rocco's pissed off with him, and then they fight in mud, and Hubie starts to choke. Yeah, like a drowning duck. He is, and that makes Jim Belushi Penguin laugh. And then he's like, "You're such an idiot. I like you, and let's move on.
I'll teach you how to fight.
And
then later, still, I think what happened. I forget.
They're on several like submarines and boats.
Yeah. Oh, but I forget. Do they sing that vaudeville song?
No, they
and then fight the sea lion, or do they fight the sea lion? That's just at like the middle of the movie.
We're all over the place.
We literally just watched this movie right before we recorded this, and I forgot where. That's like I had the same problem kind of with Osmosis Jones.
Well, you did, but I know about Osmosis Jones, and I was able to follow that. But with this, it's like, you're right. There is too much back and forth that it starts to all blend together.
And the fact that they're moving to the right and to the left, and they're moving this way and that way.
Yeah, because there's a moment where they're fighting a sea lion. And then there's a moment where they're fighting killer whales, and then it's like
they sing a really crappy vaudeville like song.
There's not enough to differentiate from each scene, honestly. There's usually that thing where it's like Hubie and Ruocco talk, banter, have a fight, then they do something, and then Hubie loses the pebble, gets the pebble back. And there's like 3 different scenes that are like that. And the song, and somewhere in there's a song where they're talking about,
and they're hitting all like the Disney song.
Yeah.
You got your establishing song, you got your love song, you got your villain song, you got your comedy where buddies song.
Yeah.
It covered it's and
yeah, well, they covered all their bases. They basically said, "Oh, okay, we need this, this, and this, and this. I got it. Here you go. Now try to put that all together."
Oh, and so after all that, and we're just gonna go right through it.
Yeah, we're done.
Then there's a killer whale chase, and Ruocco distracts the killer whale so that Hubie can get away.
Mm-hmm.
But Hubie loses the pebble, and you think that Ruocco is eaten.
Yeah,
and then Hubie somehow miraculously gets back to the hell ice. Deathberg is called on the map. Oh, yes,
it's on the map. It's actually, there's a moment where they're on the
Hubie's home. I think one of them was Hubie's house or Hubie's slope.
Hubie's slope
or something. There was Hubie's.
I only saw Deathberg.
I saw Deathberg and like Drake's lair.
Deathberg. Woo.
And but yeah, it was Drake's lair, Deathberg. And Hubie's slope, I think.
Yeah, that was the establishing shot of where we are now.
And then so Hubie gets back and he starts to fight because now suddenly, after days and days of Drake macking on Marina, he finally is like, "I'm gonna take you. I brought you all the way up here to my weird mouth cliff, and then I'm gonna take you back down again into my spiral staircase lair." And as he does that, Hubie appears on the top of the mountain suddenly, and they have a fight. And of course, Hubie gets the shit beat out of him. He gets
knocked over by this huge jock,
and then
that does like a football charge.
And then the children birds help him get up.
Yes, the kid birds.
And then suddenly, Kung Fu Penguin starts beating the shit out of Drake and smashing through rocks.
He breaks his. I think he
bites his leg or bites his foot.
Yeah, because you thought he broke his leg.
Did you just hear a crack?
Because you hear, and yeah, there's moments where Hubie just like, they're loud crunches when he hits Drake. And Drake like
all those teeth out of his mouth. I was like,
Drake like smashes like rocks of staircases
with his face. And then Hubie drop kicks him like Chuck Norris, and he falls like no.
Yeah, falls into like the green death center of this.
I don't know how
tower.
And then he and Marina reconvene, and then what happens? Does Ruocco appear suddenly again? Ruocco appears.
Oh yeah, he appears again,
and he gives him. He's like, I got your pebble.
No, he didn't. He didn't reveal that he had the pebble yet.
Oh.
And here's why. So Drake comes back up, picks up a rock with Marina on it, tosses it
at Hubie,
and that makes the entire tower start to crumble. By the way, this is the entire side of the mountain, by the way. We should point that out, that they have basically fucked the entire mountain of that area that the penguins apparently live on. Or because we've seen
only Drake lives on that place,
I guess, but we've seen penguins like convene there. So it's like there's got to be other penguins there. So this entire like little iceberg has been fucked by Drake, and he gets crushed.
And it's the most. We were dying laughing.
It was hilarious.
Because you just hear him go, blah, and then you see this rock smash him.
It's like.
And then you see all that's there, I think, is his cape.
Yeah, you just all in one like frame. You just like, and then like his cape is like dangling on the edge of this rock as it falls down. He has basically been crushed to nothing. Oh god!
And then
Drake is dead.
Oh, and so and then Ruocco is holding on to Hubie and
No,
Marina.
no. They're flying. They're falling.
No, he loses his grip, and then Ruocco dives after them to save him, and then he suddenly just grabs them and just not even like flapping his wings.
Yeah, he's just holding
Superman like grabs him, and he's like, "I'm flying," and it's like,
Ruocco, you're flying. Yeah, I am. Why?
And it's like they never show why, and then he puts him down, and all the penguins are there. And then Ruocco takes out from his bandana the pebble.
Yeah.
Somehow he stored this.
And what I like, you were kind of skeptical about this because they don't explain it whatsoever. But I do have a feeling that they wanted to kind of hint that the rock was magical and it was helping him fly because he was holding it.
But it doesn't do anything else for Hubie or anything before that. Well, it's not like the stupid amulet in Nim.
It made him spy on Marina at one time. But yeah, after that, it's like then he starts flying again, and we don't know if he has the pebble or not. So and other penguins are flying too. So him and other penguins started flying, and it's like, well, that theory is kind of fucked now. So it's like it's just magic do.
Yeah. And then and so then Hubie and Marina are like, "Will you marry me?" And she's like, "Oh, Hubie, it's not about the pebble, it's about the penguin." And I'm like, "Fuck you."
No, honestly,
that pebble.
No. Here's the thing about that is that we know that. We all have known that. We saw it coming because in the beginning of the entire movie, she literally says in the beginning of the songs, like, I don't really think the pebble's that important. If I want a penguin, it has to be for the penguin, not the pebble. And it's like, you just spoiled the ending right there because
she's obviously not like a vain character.
No, she's not. She's perfect. She's practically perfect in every way.
She's practically choking.
Yes, that's true. Her design also calls for this choker that she has that literally
lives up to
his
namesake.
Choking. And because she has those lines where it looks like you're squeezing something.
Yeah.
And every character in this looks like they're having trouble, like they would have trouble breathing.
I want to draw Marina, take off your choker. And she takes it off, and it's just
this huge dewlap just flops
and then
out.
Hubie just makes Hubie
God, I regret everything. Ruocco, let me marry you.
I've touched you more.
I've touched you more. We've already established. Yeah, that would be funny. It's just like, Ruocco, for all the times that we've been together, I want to present the pebble to you. It's like, no,
you stupid idiot.
No, you idiot. God.
It's pretty much, it looks, I just realized design wise in a way.
Yeah.
Ruocco and Hubie just look like the penguin equivalent of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Hubie has a dumpy body and this little angry little shit who's like, you idiot, it's the stupid pebble.
Yeah.
And then
if Ren and Stimpy was made by
and Hubie and Marina have little tiny Hubie babies, and then Ruocco kidnaps them and flies away.
Hubie
baby's gonna fly away. It's true. But yeah,
that's the end, and we could see why Don Bluth didn't want his name on this thing.
And I don't know why
I
want to be.
I'm glad we did watch it because it's it's been a while since we've seen it. This was coming regardless.
It was, yeah. I'm glad we got it out of the way.
And honestly, for Bluth-vember, this is probably we have to see all Don Bluth movies eventually, and to kind of gauge which is the absolute worst. And it's I remember things like Anastasia and I saw Titan AE with Chris a while ago.
That was the third episode.
And I was like, that wasn't that bad. I was like, I mean,
it's flawed, but
it's flawed, and it's I really truly hate A Troll in Central Park for so many reasons, and it's it's been so long since I've seen that, and I can honestly say that this The Pebble and the Penguin has the most Dawn Blues. I saw Thumbelina also like recently, and I was just like, this isn't that bad. It has problems. I like Rockadoodle. Pebble and the Penguin, I have seen now, and I can officially say I freaking hate this movie.
I will say that
I
of
don't
all the
say
Don
that.
Bluth movies, this is probably hands down now my least favorite movie.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not even the story has problems, but the visuals themselves,
Yeah.
and the lack of direction, and the fact that it's kind of all over the place, and you could tell that it's trying so hard
Oh.
to be like Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin
Yeah.
and failing.
Yeah.
And then
That's the thing about it, is that it was trying to be something that it's not.
yeah.
Or it was like they wanted to try and emulate something that they really probably could have done in such a better way with some other subject. But the penguin thing is just like,
And
looking at Hubie, just God.
we would wince. We would literally every time we'd see a close up or you'd make a strange mouth. Oh, and then for a while, every
And
time
when
we'd
he
see,
said "goodness glaciers,"
and then every time you'd see Ruocco move his mouth even slightly more human like than a bird should, you would literally, I would hear you just go, oh,
we would
and make like a face like you just smelled sour milk.
Yeah, there were frames in this where we would just like we need to kind of.
Can we make a Tumblr that's called the Pebble and the Penguin frames?
Yeah, we can't even think of anything clever for that.
No, we can't because I'm. And the thing is, I feel like after all this, I think we owe it to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
We need. We have to talk about. We've been shitting on this movie for the last hour.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have to find something positive to say about this movie because I feel like it wouldn't be fair.
We do.
Just to shit on this movie.
Well, I feel like I have said something positive about this, and that's the music.
That it's over. No.
No, I will say that
the songs are okay.
People give this movie shit for its musical element. And honestly, it's like, I don't think that's what the problem with this movie is. Because
just listen to the soundtrack with the visuals off.
With this soundtrack, I honestly feel like it's decent. It's not, I mean, I'm not going to say it's fantastic, but I will say it's like, it's in that middle ground where it's like, it doesn't offend me if I listen to this soundtrack. And it's kind of cute. I mean, the song with Hubie singing to Marina,
I think it's a great little.
That was a cute song, and it had some powerful moments in it.
And even the moment where he's like, "Where was I?" and he's kind of losing himself, and he's obviously a very introverted, shy character, and it shows through in that song.
Right.
But
if I saw two people on stage performing that with like as those characters, but not like as those characters, it shows that has depth and emotion to it because of this music. So it's like I will,
and even the personalities too, like they're fine. But then you see, like the visual, you see the design, you see the animation being overdone, you see the angles, you see the lip sync.
Just Hubie is not appealing at all.
That should have been a more subtle song, and the characters are moving around as if. Because the thing is, like, if you're sitting, the reason why some performers on stage overact or move too much or all over the stage, it's because there are probably people who are in the nosebleed cheap seats in the back who they need to project out to them. You have to see it, so they're doing that. But Hubie is literally front and center in almost every shot.
Yeah.
So and it's so forced and so pushed. And then, but I will say,
if this was on Blu-ray, we would see all the pores.
The voice cast was great. I liked Martin Short. I liked Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
I liked
Tim
Curry, as awkward as he was.
Who voiced Marina? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Annie Golden.
I don't know who she is.
I'm trying to remember.
I assume she's a singer or maybe maybe
she's in Orange is the New Black, so she's still doing stuff. Yeah, what has she done before Pebble and the Penguin? She was on Cheers as Margaret O'Keefe. I haven't seen Cheers enough to kind of know.
But did she ever have like?
But a lot of these movies that I've seen, like I don't really know. They don't ring any bells.
Oh, well, but I mean, I thought the cast was fine. The music, the songs. Out of just listening to them, not looking at the screen, were nice.
Yeah,
I think, and another thing too, it's one thing I always will say about Don Bluth movies. In this case, I think it's probably the best animation in the movie. The special effects, the water effects, the, a lot of that stuff. I think the effects were pretty good. And most Don Bluth movies, the effects are usually pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
You can't help but look. I mean, look at the effects in Nim
or
in Land Before Time. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we're kind of like
scraping at
picking at straws now.
Yeah.
It's like we're
But I think that's really all we could say about this thing.
Yeah, they're really
without going back into the design again.
Yeah, there's sadly this I would honestly say is one of the worst Don Bluth movies that I've seen.
I would say this is one of the hardest movies.
It's hard to watch. Yeah.
This is definitely one of the I will go so far to say is we've done over 30 or almost close to 40 of these shows.
Listen,
and we've watched dozens of movies.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of the hardest ones that we've watched.
Yeah.
And we've watched David and the Magic Pearl.
if the director was so not into it, I don't know what else to say. It's just like I'm sorry, this movie just was pretty
But the thing
bad.
is, I'm glad that you kind of convinced me to do this movie before doing the next one.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad and you guys will be like, "Oh, finally they can actually they can actually have a decent conversation about a movie and not shit all over it."
Right.
Or not we'll see. It's subjective. Of course,
if you're one of those people that likes it when we talk about crappy movies, well, here you go. But
you had it.
Yeah, here you
and
got it.
And just a warning, it's a shame it's come a little too late. Lower your volume a bit because we're just screaming and yelling and making weird, loud Tim Curry noises into the mic. So just a warning to you guys about an hour and a half ago. Turn your volume down.
That was like the most late warning I've ever seen. It's almost like we've seen the entire movie and then at the end of it we say, "Oh, by the way, spoilers."
Do we mention that Hubie's design makes us sick?
All right. I think we can move on now, right? We can move on with our lives and we can say that we saw this.
I need to look at something.
But anyway, yeah, please do yourself a favor and save the penguins.
Save us from the penguins.
Save us from the... Yes, so that's what we thought about the Pebble and Penguin. If you like our podcast, please go to iTunes and Stitcher and give us a favorable review, preferably with 5 stars. That's a great way to support the show and tell us what you think about our stuff. And also, if you'd like to get in contact, if you like,
our brain cell count lowered about.
I don't know. If you would like to contact us, the best way to do that is go to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/animated anarchy cast. You can message us. That's when we do updates. And, it's probably the best way to get a hold of us. Also, you can message us via snail mail or send us stuff through our P.O. Box, which is Animated Anarchy, P.O. Box 10852, Burbank, California 91510. So, yeah, if you want us to read off a letter or something, we can do that, or we can talk about the stuff that you sent us, which is always fun. I like to do that. Also, you can also give us a couple bucks on the Patreon, which is patreon.com/AWD. And also, hey, Mike, are you on Twitter?
I am.
I am. Piglet, I am on Twitter. This is
Yeah, I'm
full
on-
of honey. Pebble and the Penguin was a terrible farce.
Yes.
I'm on Twitter as my handle is @aguywhodraws. Don't laugh.
Don't laugh. But plenty of you men wear one of these.
Please clap.
And I am also on Twitter @AWDTWIT. That's AWDTwit. And yeah, I guess that's it for us for now.
There goes my day.
Yes. Next week we'll be talking about our final Bluth-November movie. We will keep you we won't keep you waiting for another couple weeks. But yeah, stay tuned for that, and we won't spoil for you what it is, but just know that it's probably better than Pebble and the Penguin for all you know. Yes, and I am Andrew.
I'm Mike.
Hey, see you around.
See you around.
Sometimes I wonder what the colors mean. And then my spleen. All right.
Oh, fuck.
Here we go.
Hold on. Sorry, I have a little...
It just sounds like diarrhea now. If we listen to that without seeing that scene, do you think it would sound like diarrhea? Like it just you
mean wait? We watched the scene with the sound off?
No, with like not looking at what was happening on the screen, and that scene was just going on. You just heard like.
Oh, you mean not looking at the picture, just listening to the audio?
And then you just hear Jim Belushi go like
start laughing about diarrhea.
Yeah,
that's
we
haven't even started this thing yet, and we're already on a disgusting note. Jesus Christ.